Alright, today we're going to be covering some music theory for guitarists, namely how to play every single chord on guitar. This includes major chords, major 7 chords, minor 7 chords, and dominant 7 chords. Of course, there are more variations that you can do of chords, but we're just going to be learning those chords. And those chords will pave the way for every chord on guitar. If you understand those chords, you understand how to read more advanced chords, and we'll cover that at the very end. But in order to proceed with this lesson, we have to be familiar with a few concepts. The first concept is scales and modes. The second concept is scale degrees. And the third concept is basic chords. So what do I mean by those three? The first one, scales and modes, is just knowing your major scale, your minor scale, and knowing your pentatonic scale. Knowing your major and minor pentatonic scale would be very nice. We use the diatonic scale, being our normal major scale, like this. That's also known as the Ionian mode. So the Ionian mode, starting on the 3rd fret, is going to be G. And we need to know all of those notes and then number them like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those numbers are now our scale degrees. Chords are made out of intervals, the space between different notes. So in order to build chords, we need to use certain patterns of scale degrees. The first pattern for a major chord is going to be 1, 3, 5. So we take the first note, the 3rd note, and the 5th note. And we need to find a way to play this on the fretboard. We could play it like this in the first position. As long as we're playing those 3 notes, 1, 3, and 5, it's a major chord. So we've made a G major chord. If we wanted, hypothetically, to make a G minor chord, we would have to change one of the intervals. And we would have to lower the 3rd to a minor 3rd. It would be like this. So when we play the 3rd note, we need to flat it. It's easy if you understand your minor scale. The minor scale. If you know how to play your minor scale, then you understand where the flat 3rd is. This is really easy on an instrument like piano, where you have every single note laid out on the keyboard in front of you. But on guitar, it's a little bit harder, because most of us have to learn things in patterns, and those patterns follow certain systems. So the first system that we have to become familiar with is the caged system. That means we learn these chords: C, A, G, E, and D. The reason that we learn those chords is because the next position of our chord shape is going to occur inside one of those patterns. So for example, the first one, C, would occur in the next position as the A shape. And then in the next position, it would occur as the G shape. And then in the next position, it would occur as the E shape. And then in the next position, it would occur as the D shape. Thus, if we know how to play C and D, we know all of our major chord shapes across the neck. If we wanted to play C in the next position, C, can run through each of those patterns and produce the same chord. So once we're familiar with our caged system and our scales and what it means to have scale degrees, the patterns of those scale degrees, then we can move on to our protocol for learning how to play every chord on guitar. We can move on to introducing variations of the same chord. Let's start with our E position. So we're going to play E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and then E. Now we're going to give these notes numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In order to play the major chord, we need to use the 1, the 3, and the 5 of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 1, 3, 5. But we can't play all those at the same time, so we have to keep going. 6, 7, 1. We can play that. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can play all of those. That gives us our E major shape. If we look at the combination of notes that we're using, we have 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. Everything is 1, 3, or 5. That means that it's going to be a major chord. Okay, let's spend a minute to memorize our major chord shape if we haven't already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now what if we wanted to make this into a minor chord? We have to play 1, flat 3, 5, and if we're using our major scale, we're going to just have to flat the third. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're just playing our major scale and flatting the third. That works. 1, flat 3, 5 is all we need. So 1, flat 3, 5. Again, we can't play that, so we have to keep going. And this is our standard minor bar chord shape that we encounter all the time. Okay, how about if we want to play a major 7? Well, we need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we need to add that note to the chord. That's the 7th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we could add that note too. So if we just play a major chord and we add this note, that's one way to play major 7. Or we can do what's shown here and play the 7 right here. That's also a good voicing for a major 7 chord. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll play the 7 right there. So let's take a minute to memorize that one too. Major, minor, major 7. Now we're going to learn our minor 7 chord. The minor 7 chord has a flat 7. 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. In this case, we want to use our minor scale. So we will play E, F, G, A, B, C, D. 1, 5, 7. This would be our first minor 7 voicing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, minor 7. So let's make sure we memorize that one so far too. So we have major, then we have minor, and then we have major 7, and then we have minor 7. Now the last one we're going to memorize for E is the dominant 7 chord. The dominant 7 chord is very useful as it creates tension and leads to resolution. It contains the flat 7 scale degree, which can be found in the Mixolydian mode. If you read 7 on a chord chart, you want to play the dominant 7. For example, if I said E7, you would want to play the dominant 7 chord. So we've got E major. And we need to flat the 7. So we might know where the 7 is by now. The 7's right here. That D sharp. So we need to flat that. And we get our dominant 7 chord shape. So if we were to do that with our major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, flat 7, that gives us the Mixolydian scale. You might know what that is. If you don't, it's part of learning your scales and modes. The Mixolydian mode is one of the scales and modes. So you could learn your scales and modes and become more familiar with Mixolydian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So we want to play that flat 7, 1, 5, flat 7, 3, 5, and then 1. So it's a very important chord to memorize. Alright, let's memorize all these chords. So the first one we're going to do is the major chord. Then let's do the minor chord. And then the major 7 chord. And then the minor 7 chord. Finally, the dominant 7 chord. Now that we're done with the first chord in our checklist, we can move on to the second chord, which will be D. Using our D Ionian scale, let's find the first, the third, and the fifth scale degrees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So we can play 3, 1, 5, 1. That gives us our D major shape. Now let's move on to the minor shape. Once again, we can 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. And then we'll just play the major 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, flat 3. So we can play our flat third right there. And that's our standard D minor chord shape. So flat third, 1, 5, 1. Let's become familiar with that shape too. So we've played our major shape, and then we flat the third. Next, we will learn our major 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Easy. D major 7. So let's run through what we have so far. We got the major chord, we have the minor chord, and then we have the major 7 chord. Next, we have the minor 7 chord shape. So let's try using our minor scale for this. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1, 2, flat 3. So we know our flat 7 is there. That gives us a minor 7 chord. 3, flat 7, 5, 1. So far we've learned major, minor, major 7, minor 7. Let's finish up with our dominant 7 chord, which is going to have our major 3rd, our 5th, just like a major chord, with a minor 7. So that's our dominant 7 chord shape. If we run through all of them, we have major, minor, major 7, minor 7, dominant 7. I recommend running through all those a few times and saying them out loud. Major, minor, major 7, minor 7, dominant 7. The more you run through those, the more familiar you'll become with them. Let's move on to the next chord in the sequence, C major. So beginning with our C major scale, C Ionian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 3, 5, 1. This is our standard C major shape. Now let's move on to minor. We need to flat the 3rd, so 1, 2, 3, flat 3rd, easy. Now we move on to our major 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So far we have major, minor, major 7. Now let's move on to minor 7. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, flat 3rd, 4, 5, 6. That's flat 6, flat 7. That's a very Pink Floyd kind of chord. So far we have major, minor, major 7, minor 7, and the last one we need is our dominant 7. So dominant 7, we're gonna 1, 2, major 3rd, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. So now we run through all of them. C major, C minor, C major 7, C minor 7, C dominant 7. So once again, let's practice that a few times. Major, minor, major, minor, dominant. All right, let's move on to the next chord in the sequence, which is A major. All right, so for A major, we're going to start on the A string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. It's our A major scale. We could go down to just play the open E Mixolydian. Anyway, we take the 1, 3, 5, 1, 3. So we can play it like this. That's our standard A chord shape. Now let's play the minor chord shape. We need to flat the 3rd, That's our standard A minor chord. Now let's play the major 7 chord shape. We gotta add that major 7. Now let's play our minor 7 chord shape. This is good to know because this is one that you use all the time. I like to play it like this with these 2 fingers. And then finally we have our dominant 7 chord shape. So let's run through all of them again. Major, minor, major 7, minor 7, and then dominant 7. The last shape that we need to become familiar with is the G shape. Starting once again with our Ionian mode, we'll play the G major scale. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 3, 5. And we already know the G major chord shape, our standard G major chord. 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, and then octave. Now we'll do G minor. 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 5. So we have our major shape. And we have our minor shape. Now let's learn our major 7 shape. So here's our major 7. This is right below the root. That's the octave, right? That's G. So it's F sharp right there. As long as we play that, we're playing a major 7 chord. So far we have major, minor, major 7. Now let's learn our minor 7. 1, let's use our minor scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's use our minor scale to figure this one out. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. So we can go like this. That's one way to play it. If we were playing it up here, I'd play like this. That's how I would voice that chord. So far we have major, we have minor, then we have major 7, then we have minor 7. Now we need to learn the dominant 7. 1, there's our major 3rd, there's our flat 7. We can use the Mixolydian mode to figure out this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. It's right there. And then if you want to add this flat 7 up here, you can. I would mostly use this form of this chord. So kind of like the minor 7 where I'm leaving that note out. I would just use that form. So let's run through all of them. We have major, we have minor, we have major 7, we have minor 7, and then we have dominant 7. Now that we've learned pretty much all of the different types of chords in the different positions, there's a few exercises you can do to bring everything together. One way that I like to practice this is by taking the different positions of the chord I'm going to play. So like let's say we start with C, and we play it in the 2nd position. I'm going to do that with major 7 chords. So first, I want to play a major 7 chord in this position. And then I want to play a major 7 chord in this position. And then I want to play a minor 7 in this position. And then a minor 7 in this position. Or maybe I want to play a dominant 7. And then a dominant 7 here. So I'm going to run through those positions. Let's do major. Then I'm going to do minor, C minor, C minor. When you've done that with your chords, you can then do it with the next position. So we'll take the A position and the G position of C. So we're still playing C major, but we're in this position. And then I'll play C major 7 and C major 7 right here. So I'll play C minor 7 in the A position, and then I'll play C minor 7 here in the G position, and then I'll play C dominant 7 here, then I'll play C dominant 7 in the A position, and then I'll play C dominant 7 in the G position. And just running through the different positions, you can come to memorize the different chord inversions for each chord shape. So there you have it. We've ran through every single key on the checklist, and we've applied our caged system to learning all of these different chord types. If you followed along with this video, congratulations, you probably know most of your chords now. Let's talk about a few weird chords. What if you read something like a major 9 chord? Well, let's say we were playing E again. We're playing E major. If we have to play an E major 9, then we just add the 9th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so on and so forth. So now you can read more complicated chords as well. Challenge yourself and feel free to let me know what works and what doesn't work. What helped you, if anything, and what didn't help you. Leave negative comments or positive comments for me, because those things will help me refine